welcome back to the Coloring Oasis. This is Emily. I'm here today to continue what I started a few days back about coloring skin tones with my Copic markers. In a previous video, I showed you how I do Caucasian skin with Copic markers, which would be from this gal here. You might see some other tutorials about finishing her hair and clothes. But now I'm going to show you how I do African skin tones, and this time I'm going to do it on an Amazon paper printed book and a Damita Victoria book. And I already did this one previously earlier today. I haven't finished it yet, but this was a Deborah Muller page on a printed sort of, cardstock paper similar to the Nina paper. This came in her holiday box, so which was a limited, so I don't know exactly the paper she uses, but it's a white cardstock, a little thinner than the Nina paper I showed you in my previous Copic tutorial. But it's definitely thicker and more white than what you get on the Amazon paper, and I'm using the same colors. I'm going to show you how I did it on this one, which I did do on this gal here. You can see a little closer up. So she turned out super cute. Haven't finished her makeup and everything else, but I just wanted to show you that. And my camera is crooked. That's not helpful. All right, so now with Copic markers, there are multiple techniques. This is how I do it, as I showed you in my previous video, and I showed you the specific colors I used on the Caucasian skin tone, and I linked below where you can purchase individually those particular colors, around $6 to $8 a piece for those markers on Amazon. But I'm going to do the same today, and I'll link the colors that I use for this gorgeous African skin tone. And I'll do some future videos in the next week on how I do either Native American and or Hispanic skin tones as well. So what we're going to, and this is my Copic marker basket. Well, my skin tone basket. These are a touch new markers, which haven't mastered the blends on these, so I don't really use much. But my Copic skin tones are all over here, and they all have the kind of rounded base. These are the Copic sketch markers, which you can buy individually or as a $2,000 set if you want to buy all bazillion of them, which even I haven't done that. So the book we're using today, and I'm going to move my colors to the side because I have them in the order I want. But the book we're using today is the beautiful Global Beauties adult coloring book by Damita Victoria. Light grayscale. Absolutely love this book. Mine got a little warpy in the mail. But anyway, for a quick flip through, I love this book. So there's these gorgeous sort of Gibson girls. Another opportunity for an African skin tone here. Native American. Some that I'm not even sure what they might be. Asian. Probably Chinese or Japanese. I don't know my global culture that well. But I think you can tell which ones. I mean, that's not to say you only can do the African skin tones on clearly what would be an African woman or African American. You can make any of these gorgeous girls into a dark skin tone, any kind of skin tone you want, So, but I love this book. Indian, I skipped one. That would be Japanese, that one, I think. I don't know. Tibetan. And I'll probably skip some. There are some that are actually behind this one. And there are 2 sets of each picture in this book as well. Love this one. That one might be Hispanic. I don't know. Oh, love Hawaiian. I'm going to do this one for sure. Swedish or Danish, maybe. This book is insanely pretty. Okay, and you can see it's that pale faded black one-sided pictures. So you do still want to have a divider page, which I'm going to put behind mine here. spine isn't fully broken. So this is definitely only like a book that's like $7. So the difference between blending Copic markers on this kind of paper versus when I showed you this one, you see the difference, this bright white. This was actually the just a big X press, super white blending card for markers particularly. A little higher end than my Nina paper, which I use for most of my other printables. And it has much more of a shine to it, perfect for markers. So you get more of that squeak, squeak, squeak when you're coloring. It's almost like more silky. So the Amazon paper is drier and the ink dries faster. So you have to work faster to blend. It's going to take some practice. It could dry before you get in all your blending, so you might have to just do another solid layer, color over. And there are ways to avoid streaks by doing little dabs and circles, but I particularly love Copic markers on the different kinds of papers. But certainly I do still use them on almost all of my portraits and my Amazon pages because they're just my favorite. I have an Arteza skin tone set I occasionally use, but I gravitate toward my Copics. All right, so the colors we're going to use. We want to use a darker and bright pink for the blush. That's RV34, which is dark pink. It's my favorite. And we want it to show through the skin tone. That's why we're doing that. The darkest I have is called Cashew. It's E79, and cashews to me look almost white or beige, so I have no idea why they put cashew as so dark. We have maroon in E77, which does not look maroon. And we have light walnut in E57. So I basically have a dark and a medium and a lighter brown skin tone. And for the African skin tone, for this gal, for example, I did not do an underlayer of a lighter color like I did with the Caucasian. I'm just going to go around the outside with the darkest and work my way in. So there are a few tricks. It's definitely a little bit more challenging. And you'll see why. So what I'm going to do, need the blush handy because we're going to want to put that in somewhat quickly. But what I want to do is start with my darkest, which is the Cashew, and that's E79. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to start from her eyes down because we want to work on a small area at once. If I started here and worked my way down, it's a little trickier with the nose, so just trust me on that. So I'm going to do one cheek, the nose, and then the chin and this cheek, and then work inward and then go upward. So I'm going to put this darker Cashew under her eye, in the crease of her eye, the little indent of right there of her nose, and then I'm going to outline the face. It's okay, you want it to be a little bit thick. Alexa, cancel. We're just gonna, I'm actually gonna just, I think for this one, actually I'm just gonna I'm gonna go all the way around, go back to the ear later. And I'm going to do the nose around a curve of her nose and kind of draw like a nose shape. I'm gonna make a little cleft right there too. Okay, then I'm gonna go to the blush and I'm going to put in my pink. You wanna do this first because you want it to try to show through the skin tone we're going to do. My blush is running a little low. We're going to maybe touch this up later, so that's not a biggie. Looks very rudimentary up front. Then we're going to go to the medium, which is the A77 maroon, and I'm going to go over this outline around the nose, and I'm working a little faster. I'm going to work it in. I'm going to start blending in this darker skin tone over toward her cheek. And I'm going to bring it upward under her lips. I'm going to go under, well, we need that darker one. I'm going to go back to the darker one since we're just kind of doing it this way. I'm just going to go for it here, but if you're brand new, I would probably not do so widespread at once. Looks terrible when you do it like this, but believe me, it all comes together. Then we're going to get that lightest, which is the E57 Light Walnut, and I'm going to start going over her makeup, the blush. I'm going to go over her nose. And I'm basically just covering up, but you'll see what we do here. This kind of is an underlayer, sort of. It's hard to describe. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to put on some more pink on her cheeks again. And now I'm going to go back to the medium that we did, which is the E77. I'm going to go over everything I did with that lighter one even. And it looks kind of choppy and odd with the white neck underneath, but it will get fixed, you'll see. I'm going to leave her nose a little bit with that more brown in the middle there. And then I'm going to get the lightest brown again. I'm going to do a little pink one more time. And then I'm going to get that lightest brown and go back over everything and use it kind of like as a blender. Go over her eyelid. Okay. I am going to tinge her lips with this lighter brown. We're going to go over that with lipstick. And then I'm going to grab my darker one. We're going to move up to the forehead. And we have to come back down to the face, the E79 Cashew. And now I'm going to outline her forehead. Maybe do like a little dip here so that shadow comes down a little. I'm going to go over her eye. I'm going to do around her nose bridge one more time and outline that nose again, just a little. And outline that cleft. Or that little, what do you call it? The little, you know what I mean. Okay, then we're going to do the E77 Maroon. I'm going to blend into that dark and pull it down. Pull the color down. Go over her eyes, around the eyebrow. I'm going to pull upward just a little. And then I'm going to grab that lighter brown, which is the E57 Light Walnut. I'm going to do their forehead a little lighter. And there are many different shades, obviously, of African skin tones. I did go over her eyebrow because we were going to be doing those in a dark color. So I'm bringing that down, pulling that color down. Going to go back over her nose just to make sure that's kind of blended in. Now with the white hair, the white uncolored hair poofing out, next to this, it's hard to imagine the final picture, but it does work in the end. Okay. Just going over her eyelids. And so I'm going to get that medium brown again. Now you can leave as is if you want some lighter brown, again on the forehead or some certain faces, so it's not completely even. I do that often. I'm going to go back over it though with the medium, which is the E77. Just to kind of tickle at it and even that out. All right, now at this point, you can go back over with the pink as a final touch, but sometimes it almost looks like you took a mineral spirit Sometimes I just leave as is. It depends. It can actually darken it too much where you can't see the pink, or it can leave it kind of splotchy. So it just depends on which brown you're using. But see, it's darker now than the lighter one I did on this side when you go back over it. So I tend to generally not do that so I can keep the blush more visible than darkening it. But since I did that, I want it to be even, I'm going to do this one more time. But that's why I put that pink on the bottom. But doing that, you might see kind of a harsh contrast right there. So then it's like this never-ending cycle. I want to get my light color again, my light walnut, and now I want to go over this again. And since this ink's already drying, if you do this too much, then we get into mismatched kind of tones. Like we're already getting a little right here, and I intentionally did that to show you. So sometimes it's best just to do your first couple of layers and be done with it, and use any pencil if you want to accent anything. So, which I normally would have done, but I intentionally wanted you to see what kind of what happened there. You can then take your darkest, again, your cashew, and go around that little curve of the nose again, just to make sure it's kind of defined. And get that there. And then what I like to do is grab my Sharpie, my black Sharpie, and I do this on all skin tones for the kind of the nose holes. I like to kind of go back in and darken those a little with a black so you can kind of see where they were, which makes the nose look a little more realistic. I might put a little black dip in her chin right there as well. So what I want to do now is move into the neck and kind of show you how I blend this together. So here again we have the E79 Cashew. Now I'm going to outline her shoulder. There's very little, like they say grayscale, but you can't really see it. It's just like almost not even something you can consider a grayscale. I'm going to bring this kind of down at a V, dark one, under her neck. I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to outline above her dress. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with her dress. I'm thinking some really awesome black, orange, yellow, maybe purple, some African patterns. Let's get our blush. We want to do a little bit of pink right above the, like the line of where her dress might be. Then get that medium, the E77 maroon, start pulling down and bringing in. And I'm working somewhat quickly because it definitely is already, feels like it dries pretty quickly. As long as you keep putting something moist on there, it'll be all right. I'm going over that pink, bringing that down. And then in that open area, let's put this lighter one, which is the E57 Light Walnut, and go in there. And the reason I use multiple, usually an average of 3, sometimes more, is because skin isn't like this flat, even color. And if you use several different tones and work them in together, it'll look more, I always like to say multi-dimensional, like realistic. This is just the effect you can get with the Copic. So again, you can leave her neck now like this, where we see this darker area. We did that dip. It looks like a shadow. And you can see that shadow better under where her neck would be because we did this lighter brown here. And I have a good friend who is has a really beautiful African skin tone. And yeah, she has lighter areas on some of these areas, nose, forehead, and her neck. And that's kind of what gave me the idea to try to practice that. Now, at this point, you could, if you want a black, skin tone, you don't want the different lighter areas, and you just want to boom, you can take your dark, your E79, even if it's dry, and go back over all of this with that dark, and it's going to be very dark. You won't see much pink. It'll look like a different tone there, but it'll be very dark, and it'll still be a little darker because we had multiple layers prior to that of dark around the edges, but it'll be harder to create shadows. So for African skin tone, I like to do darker in certain areas and bring it in. I think it looks more natural. I am going to take this dark and do a little more under her eye, over her eye. Again, I feel like I want to put some more around the nose. Of course, we forgot her ear. I might do a little more at the dip of her forehead there. And at this point, I like the neck with the lighter color and looking a little, I hate to say splotchy, I don't know how else to phrase it, and putting a little more dark there. A little more again, several layers on that kind of under the nose area. I'm gonna put a little more dark just right there where there might be more shadow. All right, so what we're going to do is do her ear. I'm just gonna outline it. I haven't figured out what to do with her hair. I'm thinking a chocolatey brown, something lighter than her face, I think will be good. So the beautiful skin really just pops out. This is the medium E77. Leave some white spots, and I'm going to do the light, which is the E57. I mean, you see how terrible it looked when I started, but it really comes together quite beautifully. And I'm going to put a little pink on her earlobe and up here. Normally I would do it front, but I didn't. In the whole part of her ear. Okay, it's looking quite pretty. I think what we're going to do next are her arms. I haven't figured out, is this part of her open skin? Like when my eye sees it, at first I saw this is a whole dress, and that's like a stripe of different color material. But I look at it, I wonder if it's one of those dresses that has an open V, like the bandeau top stops there. That's skin. There's a bare part material up there. I guess it could go either way, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to reserve my Copics, but you could kind of do that cool effect, make that part of her skin, and the top is split here and here. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do her arms now. So let's move on down to her arms. I kind of want to do her face. I don't know what I want to do with her lips. I usually do lipstick. It's going to depend on what color her outfit is, so I'm kind of waiting on that, and I have to finish the eyebrows once I know about the hair. I do think I'm going to do a turquoise blue for her eyes. And in fact, I think we're just going to go for that now. Why not? I'm actually going to use some of the same blues I used in my previous tutorial when I did this one, because I still have them on my table, so we're just going to do that because I have them out. So what I like to do for eyes, it's already kind of black. Usually I like to do a darker layer and work up lighter, but they already put for us these black areas at the top of her eye. So I'm going to go over this with dark blue, put in a few blue specks. All right, and then I'm gonna go with like this turquoise I had in that last video too. Make her eyes be a little turquoise. I think that'll be pretty. Blue eyes, and I'm gonna put these colors, I think, into, I guess a little bit of blue or turquoise into her dress. That's just that. Very simple. I'm going to get that blue again and put a few dots on her eyes, the turquoise part. And then I do need to get my white gel pen later and come back and fix up the white reflections in her eyes. That's just kind of the basis of how I start the eyes. All right, so let's do her arm. I'm gonna do the one down here. The general rule is when you have an object over skin, you want to outline that area. So, because that is going to leave a little shadow. So you see here, we did this outline above her dress top because there might be a little shadow where the elastic sort of puts in and it makes it kind of stand out. So I'm going to do this darker one in the dip of her arm. I'm going to do it here. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight. I just kind of brush it in here. I'm also going to do here. So we're kind of making a boxy shape with our outline. You can do a little bit of a V here like we did at the neck. Let's get our mid-tone, which is the E77 Maroon, which still looks brown to me and does not look maroon unless I'm colorblind. And again, you want to blend over the previous color. Close in, I like to call it close in the box. We're going to close in the box. Make that white space smaller and smaller. I'm going to take a little pink and do it in the kind of dip area of her arm here for some redness. Then I'm going to get that E57 Light Walnut and go over everything. I've had these colors for a long time, so they're probably running low. For this area, I think I want to go back over with the medium again. I don't want to leave too many light spots. That's more for a light reflection on her neck. So I am going back over with the E77, that medium, over what I did in the center here, and just bringing all that color together. Okay. Nothing spectacular. You see a little shadow there for the arm bends. And of course I am trying to be quick about it so you guys aren't too bored. We're going to do this next section, box this in as well. And let's just do this final part of the arm that cuts off at the frame. Do the frame around the bracelet. All right, I don't think we need any pink in that part of the arm. We'll bring in our mid-tone again, the maroon. Try to box that in. Close in the space from the outside in. That's how I work my Copics. I close in the space from the outside in with darkest to lightest in my color family. We're going to go over it with this lightest one. There's a little bit of, you can almost see it's like the skin has a little bit of different tones to it. Might leave that one. I think for this one here, I'm going to go back in with the middle color, back over that light spot, and then it's weird. You can see a little, you can always see a little bit of that lightest tone through the next layer, which is what I like. Okay, easy peasy. So going to the other arm next. I feel like you could see all this. I haven't been cut off on the camera, have I? No. I will zoom in when I'm done too. Same thing. Let's do this little dip in her arm. Put some pink in there. Let's do this kind of corner where there's a shadow, then an outline. If you have a very, very light brown, almost like one of the ones you'd use for Hispanic tone, even, or a little bit lighter than that, you can do an underlayer and not leave it white in the middle, but then the pink blushes don't show through as well. I generally use the underlayer of like the silk or the pearl colors on the white skin tones. I'm going to do that kind of V here, just like I did here. It's a little darker in these corners where there's some shadows. And going on to the medium, the maroon, close it in. But you see, this is the Amazon paper, and I am doing it now. I'm not going very slow at all. I'm getting the ink while it's a little bit damp at least. When you're new, you're gonna probably try to be perfect, and you're gonna go slower, and then you're gonna end up with a little more need to practice. I'm gonna get my light, my walnut, work that in here. Oh, and I forgot the pink. Let's grab the pink. Whoopsie. Might be too late. Yeah, see, you don't see it when you put it on top of that light layer. That's the problem. It's okay. Going over it with that walnut. And let me grab my mid-tone again, the maroon, which is the E77. Keep in mind, this is just kind of a quick, easy job that I'm showing you guys on the camera, because it would take a long time to go at my normal pace and do all the details I do for even one section, and you wouldn't get to see me complete the whole, skin. So it might look a little sloppier than mine normally will look, but I just want you to get the general gist. I went on that flower a little. We can fix that with a red or bright flower. Go back to your dark and cut off here so you get like more of the dark in that corner and that kind of V, maybe around the elbow here, in this corner, wherever you might have some shadows. I'm gonna do it a little darker. Now you see how dark it is when it's already dried on the side. So when I go in and I put that back over it, it's like a whole new black layer. So you could go re-over it, like I said, everything with that cashew, and it's going to be very dark as a final. Like if I ever find that I've messed up what I did and it's splotchy or streaky and I can't use it, I'm just going to take my dark one and go over everything and try to salvage it. So it's kind of like a life-saving lifeboat to do that technique. All right, so, and he's gonna need a little more detail work with some pencil, but this is the gist of the 3 shades I do use for the skin tone. I'm going to see if you can, if I zoom in here, not sure how well you can see, if it's really bright in here today. I got like the overhead light and the window's open and it's super sunny out. But you see I have kind of the lighter area, the shadow under her neck, that lighter area where the light might be hitting her skin. I do need to do some fixing up with some pencils down here as well. It looks like it pops out kind of oddly because there's no other color on that page. So when I start filling her hair and her dress, it's really going to shine. And what I'm probably going to do is do some red and orange makeup pencil. It's really hard to do makeup and color over the African skin tones. You can sometimes use paint or glitter, but there are some tricks. So I'm going to actually figure out what I'm going to do about her hair. And then I'm going to record that in part 2 of this video. And maybe show you what I'm going to do for her dress. I'm thinking because of all these simple stripes and everything, I'm just going to use my Sharpie set so I can just do solid lines. So maybe we'll do that next. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to link in order these markers that I use, and you can buy these colors individually on Amazon, and these can also be used for nature type stuff or hair. I've used these dark colors for dark hair on, you know, white skin tone as well. So thanks so much, and I will see you in the next video.